So here I am in Substance and I'm going to just do a little bit playing around with some materials and some layers to just show some different practice to create different practices to create sort of interesting texture on my creature. So my creature has two objects and I'm going to be working only on the body, not the eye. Right now I have a simple empty layer right now and I'm gonna just simply create, I can delete that so it has nothing. I'm gonna start from nothing. I'm gonna create an empty layer, and on that empty layer I can just do a quick uh, paint on it. So I could say, for example, I can add and just do some paint on it. Right now it's painting on that paint. I'm doing painting on diffuse, specularity, glossiness, height, normal map. And you can see that all of those are right there. So I could just um, pick and say, for example, I could pick and paint a different color on that diffuse and try to just provide that redness to it. And or I can just go and manipulate the glossiness and try to use a some sort of like a, I'm sorry, painting the diffuse still. So try to keep that material there on the glossiness, but it's not exactly the way I want to do it. I'm just trying to get rid of that glossy now there because it's not really the way I wanted to show. The way I wanted to show is, and let me just delete this one. I want to try to create a material on it so that I can work on it a bit more easily instead of changing that color back to white. And I'm going to create a new fill. And this fill I'm going to, right now on that fill I have all of these different channels. It's going to be the diffuse, the specular, the glossiness, the height, normal map, and the emission. And I'm going to add to it a material, that makes pre-existing material that the program comes with. So I'm just going to grab a simple one here. Let's say uh, that one has kind of like a substance material that has a kind of like metallic, although it's not kind of working the way we like it to because it is showing my UV maps, and I don't think it's gonna look good. I can turn on the diffuse. Right now that one's showing me just the height, show the specularity and the glossiness, so I can get to see a bit of the used and rusted metal that comes with that, which is not totally bad. I think for what the object is, I don't like showing my UV maps. That's the part that I don't like, but that just comes from Maya, so I cannot do a lot of it. I can change the scale of this object so that I can make it very, very tiny, or I can make it very, very large, and try to keep it working there as much as possible. So that material, of course, applied to a bunch of different um, parameters. You can just change down here the rustness, uh, spraying the smoothness of it, um, the varnish, and so on and so forth. So there is definitely a lot of cool potential with this quick material that I just got there. So which is kind of neat, kind of like it. Now I haven't done anything to it really, just manipulating the material as it comes by default. Here's the blending part, which I can try to play with some more to see if I can change some of that metallic roughness too. So changing of it a bit more to metallic intensity and so on and so forth. So and here still the amount of metalness that it has and the amount of height is all the way up. So um, that's what it has right now. It feels very, very rusted, which is not bad. I'm gonna keep it there right now, and I'm gonna say, well, what if I wanted to um, add something on top of this one? So let's say I wanted to add a maybe a section so that it is maybe has a section that it was painted or that has a different material on it. So let's say, for example, parts of it come from a rocky material. So if I, where it's combined, let's say if I do the bottom part to be a rock uh, component, or his arms made of rock or something. So I wouldn't paint that on this layer. I would just create a new layer for that. So I'm gonna click on an empty layer, and that one is just pure empty. And I'm going to just create on that layer. It needs to be filled with something. Right now it's completely empty, so I can just go and say fill it. You need to have something on that. So the layer by itself doesn't do anything. So I'm gonna fill. Right now that covers my image underneath. It's still letting me see the bump that that object has underneath, but it's not letting me see anything else. And the color is it's just whatever color I have there. I can go here and add that material, and to do that, of course, the materials come from here, from the materials page, whatever you have there. You have also a bunch of textures that you could use to create your materials. In this case, I'm going to just use a existing material from that list, but I'm going to also get, which I already did. I went and got this material from their website, so from the Substance website. So I'm just going to just go and show that quickly here. I'm going to say Substance welcome screen, and then that shows the Substance share, and it goes to materials, and eventually I can just look and search for it until I find the one that I just showed you. This one has a rock and jaw and moss generator. I downloaded that file, and it came down as a zip file, which is somewhere on my downloads folder, and I unzipped it, and here you have it as a few files inside of a folder I made myself. I created this folder called moss, and I copied that folder to the Substance folder. So how this is my own folder where I have things. So this is not in the program yet. So how do I know where to put it? So I go back to my Substance here, and I click on any one. It really doesn't matter which one it is. I'm going to just right click on that one and say show in Explorer, and that launches the window here and tells me that here are the materials. And I'm going to grab, because I went inside of one of my materials, I want to be at the base level of the materials. I'm going to grab the rock moss folder. I'm gonna move it there. Right now I already had moved it, so there is already. It's gonna ask me if I have permission to do this. So if I don't have permissions on my computer, I cannot do that. It won't let me. I do have permissions here, so I should be able to do it. So I have it there, and when you do it, most of the times it works. Sometimes it just has a little bit hard time, but if you have your folder with all your assets in there, it should work. So that one showed the colored rock moss, but actually the name that came with from the thing is called Rock Cliff. So I'm gonna try to use that one to see how that works. So I have that one on my layer. I'm gonna put on that fill, I'm gonna put that material. So I'm gonna go look for that Rock Cliff material right there. Let's see, somewhere that is my Rock Cliff, and Rock Cliff material got you can see here under the fill, it's showing me just the gloss, the height, and the normal. So I need to make sure that the diffuse and the specularity are shown there too. And I can see, and of course, emission. If I had an emission on it, I'm not going to put emission on it. Emission meaning any kind of some sort of glow or highlight. So I have that rock, and the same way you can go and manipulate the size of your rock and the detail of it and all that. And you can also have down here, if you keep scrolling, there is the moss attributes right there, and you can change how much moss you want to show on the cracks. You have sharpness of the moss, and remove it from cracks, and so on and so forth. So it's a lot of little things that actually whoever made it had a lot of cool thinking behind it. But of course, I want this moss to interact with my, let me see if I can just change position on the top, so you see, can show some little bit about that. I also have dirt there actually, and water accumulation, so I'm not sure what those do, but you can see a little bit of that, which is neat. Anyways, you figured out how to change it and randomizing it by clicking on random there, uh, and and that just made it very very mossy and rocky. But I need to add, or need to be able to see my metal material underneath of it, because right now my metal is not showing, and I want to show kind of the combination of the two somehow. Say for example, his rock material comes just up to here, and from that point upwards he is all metallic. So to do that, I need to create a mask on the layer, not on the fill, but on the layer. That layer you see, that one underneath. So I'm gonna just go and say I'm gonna add a mask, and of course that mask, if I make a white mask, that white mask will let me see through, so I will be able to see what I am what I'm seeing. If I put a black mask, it's gonna block it completely. Let me just do that to show you. I'm gonna create a black mask. Right now it blocks it so I can see what it's on the lower layer, but I cannot paint on that. So, or at least I can paint, but it's a little bit harder. So I'm gonna create a white mask. The white mask will allow me to paint. That way I can just paint on those cracks a bit better. Of course, again, keeping in mind that what I'm gonna at the end, gonna let's see is the bottom part of the object. So that means that at this moment, let me change a little bit of my brush here. I'm gonna change my some of the attributes of my brush. I have right now a very soft alpha, so I can try to modify some of those attributes here. Here's the soft alpha. I can try to see if I can find a different approach to it. Like I could use maybe one of these ones that is a bit more rigid, and I can try to uh, reduce the spacing so it's a bit more fluid, and I can change the size of it because I didn't want a soft looking brush. Alright, so now I'm gonna start painting. Let me make it a bit bigger. Just painting here, so I'm letting it see. Again, because I'm painting in a reversed order, I'm gonna inverse this mask eventually, so that I will let see the metal on top and the wood on the rock underneath. But to do that, I need to be able to see it here first. That's why I'm doing it this way. So I'm gonna change my size a little bit there, so I can just try to paint on those cracks there, just to try to follow the best I can the material I have. I can just crank up my volume here, my size. So I'm just gonna go around and paint all of that there. Just right now painting on this region only. Let me change my brush. So I'm gonna just pause my video here, do a little bit of painting, and I'll come back, so you have to be watching me painting all around. So I continue here. I just painted around part of the body, or the lower part of the body, following some of the cracks of the rock. Again, I want his bottom part to have more rock-like, but I'm gonna invert the mask eventually. But here, for example, I'm doing the same effect so that he ends up having rocky arms. So right now I'm painting on the reversed mask. But there is a cool way of doing it here that I just thought of. That I'm gonna just click here. I'm gonna show my 3D and my 2D, so that you see, for example, I can see here where the arms are, so I can actually paint on the arms and the 2D, so that I know that I'm not painting over other areas that I don't want to be painting on. So here they are. Let's see, that kind of roughly did it there. This one I'm not so sure. I'm just kind of roughing it out there a little bit there, so it's fine. And then let me do the other arm. So again, I'm gonna paint from the bottom up. So I know those fingers are going to be reversed eventually, but it'll give me a nice cool. Here I'm just gonna go through this crack right there. I'm painting with my mouse, so probably you have a Wacom tablet or a tablet. You'll be more precise than I am, but you know, this is a cool um, way of doing it without having to worry much about painting other faces that you don't want to be painting on. So alright, I think I am pretty good there. So I have, let me just go back to 3D here. I have painting on the arms. I have a little bit of piece left out here. Okay, so there is some other piece on the hands. There they are. There we go on that one. I think the other one also might have something. Let me see. Probably I think covered them all. So I have him like that. Let me go back to 3D now. And so I have my top part rocky, my bottom part metallic. But I want it to be actually the opposite. I want the bottom part to be metallic with the I'm sorry, the bottom part rock with the top metallic, and arms made of rock. So simply just gonna go here under the mask, and I'm gonna go on there, right click on it. I'm gonna say invert mask. I'm inverting mask, of course. I'm just reversing the effect of it. Now there are a couple of things there that I would like to play with, and let me just do a little bit extra cleanup in some of these places here, so that if I paint here, I'm just gonna clean up those that I missed. And one of the things that I would like to, we should save my file because I don't want it to be crashing. And I am going to because I want the rock to be a bit more out, have a bit more bump on those. I'm gonna try to see if I can get the rock. Right now the rock is the top layer, so I'm gonna try to see if I can get those parts to stand out some more. So let me go to click on the rock, on the feel of the rock, and see what that is doing. We can see that the height of the rock is this one. So if we can go down here, the height is using the height information there. So and the height information is probably coming from the actual painting of that the image has. So I don't have a lot of ways to fix it there. So what I'm gonna try to see if I can add another way to raise up some of that bump there. So one of the options would be to try to bring up some of the bump out, so that I can try to modify it a little bit. I still have a little bit of color. Yeah, a little bit of the mask needs a little bit of cleanup there. Just trying to work on that mask there, just painting a little bit more there just to clean it up. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to, under the layer, which is this one has the fill to show me the rock there. I'm going to add to it another element. I'm going to add a paint layer on top of the fill. Notice that it's under this part, not under this one. So that paint allows me to work on this area, but the paint, I want it to be affecting only the height. You see that I have it right like highlighted. That means that wherever I paint, I'm going to try to bring up that height a bit. So let me see if I can do that. And you can see that if I paint here, of course it's a pure visual effect. It's not an actual raising up the geometry, but it can try to provide the effect a bit more, the visual effect of the bump of that rock being pulled out of that metallic piece underneath, or on top of it better. So I'm just trying to exaggerate a bit more of that one right there. Same here, maybe make it to pump out a bit more. You can see that in some places it's gonna work better than other ones, so you get a nice little effect right there. Let me try to do another one here, just painting up the effect. Right. And I could try to do the opposite on the one underneath. So I'm gonna try to get on the lower layer. Right now we have that fill, and that fill I'm gonna add a new paint, and that paint is going to do height and normal again. And in this case, I'm going to just bring the height down. I'm gonna try to paint on that to see if that gives me the effect. So it's pushing in, looks like it is. So trying to show a bit of the effect. Let me change the size of my tool a little bit, a little too small. I'm just kind of quickly doing it here. So I'm again doing the effect. You know, you can probably paint a bit more until you know you have a good way. You're kind of like hiding it so it doesn't show. Alright, so that gives an interesting effect of bump and paint combined. I'm going to just go back and modify my fill for my metallic part a little bit. I think I went a little too much with the rust. Just bring it back a little bit so that it's not that intense. A bit more smoothness here and there, and trips around and blending and so on and so forth. You can just play with it some more. Additionally to this, I can have just added other materials to it, other layers, or my own. Where let's say, for example, if I want this rock to have added elements to it, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to put actually that layer on top of this one, and that layer I'm going to just put a fill, and that fill of course is a white fill. Right now is doing nothing but just white, and I can try to either use a material or just simply just change the color to make it a bit darker. So that one will give me a little bit of a variation there. And I'm going to put on this guy a mask. And on that mask, of course, it blocks it completely. On the mask, I'm going to put a generator. And that generator will allow me to go and look for possible noise that will give me a chance to make that effect a bit more noticeable. So you see that I just put that ground concrete old, and I kind of aged it already. Let's see, turn it off and on. So that aged it a little, it aged all of it, all over. So right now is all around on the actual, the whole thing. So you decide if you want to do that, and you can try to add another mask. Let's see if I can do this. Another black mask. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, I think it replaced it. Nope, that wasn't my plan. So I'm just trying to add maybe not a mask, but maybe another paint where I can go and block, those areas where I don't want it to be so dark. It's actually darkening all of it, so I'm actually going the opposite. I'm just going to reverse it, and you can play with the amount of darkness that is given. I'm trying to just to see if I can paint on that object, move the mask, the app, and see if I can paint on that object by darkening just the part that I want to be darkening. So not all of it is fully dark. Again, that's using this mask, but I'm painting on it, kind of letting it show just in that area. See that this one is already this is just using the full thing. Of course, you'd have to go all around and paint again, so I can just darken up some of my rock here and there until I get it to look the way I want it. Alright, I'm gonna just leave it there, and of course I need to save it, and just like I showed before, you just need to say export your textures, and in this case I'm going to just do the body and not the eye because I didn't do anything on the eye. I'm gonna use the configuration. Right now it's using PBR spec loss, so I can keep that one. I'm gonna go under here and then use my Arnold 5 standard, and I'm just gonna go back, find a location for it to be saved to. Let me just put it under my folder. Under my source images folder, I'm gonna create a new texture there called monster rock metal. And we're gonna go in there and just select that folder. I'm ready to go, just export them out. Of course, this file already had the textures were already, the UV maps were already mapped and everything, so the meshes were right. So that was good. Let me open up the folder to look at it, and you can see them all right there. All of them came out except for the emission. I didn't have any emission on it, so he's not glowing anything. So I have my material ready to be connected in Maya. For this, you'll use exactly the same tutorial that I did before with the other part. Alright, hopefully that gives you some guidance and ideas on exploring and downloading and using pre-created materials to go and create your own version of what it's there.